Good morning and welcome to the South Carolina Public Service Commission. We are here this morning on Allowable Ex Parte Communication Briefing. It is March 24th at 10 o'clock, and the cases are 2023-8-E and 2023-10-E, which are the Integrated Resource Plan updates, 2025 Integrated Resource Plan updates for Duke Energy Progress LLC and Duke Energy Carolinas LLC. Before we identify the parties in this action, I would say that present in the hearing room is Commissioner Belser, Commissioner Britt, Commissioner Caston, Commissioner Whitfield, Vice Chair Williams, and I am Chair Powers. Joining us virtually is Commissioner Henley. Mr. Wessinger-Hill, would you please explain the ground rules for this morning's ex parte hearing?
Yes, sir, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As the Chairman just mentioned, today is Tuesday, March 24th, and we are here in the Commission's hearing room pursuant to a notice of request for allowable ex parte briefing beginning this morning at 10 a.m. The briefing is from Duke Energy Carolinas LLC and Duke Energy Progress LLC. The subject matter of this allowable ex parte briefing is, and I quote, 2025 Integrated Resource Plan Update, end quote. This is the same subject matter to be discussed in the briefing as was timely noticed by the Clerk's Office of the Commission on January 30th, 2026 to begin this morning. As in the title, this is a briefing and not a hearing. The briefing must be conducted in compliance with the provisions of South Carolina Code Annotated Section 58-3-260C. The requirements of this statute are in part that the allowable ex parte be confined to the subject matter which has been noticed. I therefore ask that the presenters, commissioners, staff, and all present please refrain from discussing any matters not related to the specific topic, which is, again, the 2025 Integrated Resource Plan updates for these two companies. Secondly, the South Carolina statute prohibits on ex parte communications, prohibits any presenter, commissioner, or commission staff from requesting or giving any commitment, predetermination, or prediction regarding any action by any commissioner as to any ultimate or penultimate issue which is either before or likely to come before the commission. Third, if anyone during the course of this briefing exceeds the scope of the briefing or does not comply or fails to conduct themselves within the provisions of South Carolina Code Section 58-3-260, it is expected that a contemporaneous objection must be made. And finally, everyone in attendance today in person in this hearing room were asked to sign or register whenever you entered the hearing room. If you did not, please do so before exiting. You would have also been given a copy of a form that is handed out by the Commission staff. Please read the form, and before you leave the hearing room today, please sign and return the form to staff. The form is provided to each person in attendance for the purpose of certifying that the requirements contained in South Carolina Code Section 58-3-260C were complied with during this presentation. This means that no person, no commissioner, no commission staff deviated from the topic of discussion noticed for this allowable ex parte briefing or violated state law for such briefing. Mr. Chairman, all is in order and ready to proceed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wessinger-Hill.
Thank you.
Now, as to the parties, who is representing the DEC and DEP?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Sam Wellborn here on behalf of Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress.
Thank you, Mr. Wellborn. And on behalf of Office of Regulatory Staff.
Good morning, Chair Powers and members of the Commission. Appearing on behalf of ORS, my name is Claire Benj.
Thank you very much. Mr. Spears, welcome. Are you here on behalf of any particular party or?
Yes, Chair Powers, Renewable Properties.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Mr. Wellborn, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. We'll get started. I'll ask our first panel to go ahead and take their seats before you, Mr. Chair. And good morning, members of the Commission. We're excited to be with you this morning to talk about the 2025 IRP update. We do have 2 panels this morning and 7 speakers, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you to save a little bit of time. We encourage you to ask questions along the way. We'll also have 2 breaks for questions, one after the first panel and one after the conclusion of the second panel. And without further ado, when Ms. Heather Shirley Smith is ready, I'll allow her to kick things off. Thank you.
Are we good? Here we go. Okay. Good morning, Chair Powers and Vice Chair Williams and members of the Commission. It's a pleasure to be here today. We appreciate your time on this important topic, and we're excited to bring some highlights of our IRP update to you. So I'll go ahead and get to slides up. I'm our Vice President of Regulatory Affairs and Policy for South Carolina, and we'll hit some of those topics first. But as an overview, this is what we're going to be covering today. As the notice for the briefing indicates, we're focusing on our 2025 IRP update that is pending before you. We by no means are addressing all IRP update topics today. That would be a very, very long day. But rather, we're bringing key pieces of information to you with a focus on EE and DSM, on new nuclear, on battery energy storage, our solar execution, and our natural gas generation resources. We've done a lot since the Commission issued our IRP order in November of 2024. We left that proceeding with a very large to-do list, and we have been hard at work making sure to advance the resources needed to serve our customers in South Carolina. I'll also note, as you have probably been able to tell, we have a very dense PowerPoint. Don't worry, we're not diving deep into every single slide. Some of our slides are really intended as reference points for those for either you or for those who may tune in later to the briefing or who want to seek out materials that are posted on the Commission website. In the interest of time, our speakers will introduce themselves at each respective segment. And so we're panel 1 before you. And we'll go ahead and get to it.
Good morning. Try again. Good morning, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Williams, and members of the Commission. My name is Karen Hall, and I'm the Director of Integrated Resource Planning, Regulatory, and Policy Strategy. Keep clicking. So our dual state system is a large system. We have over 36,000 megawatts of diverse electric generating capacity across the Carolinas, with almost 11,000 megawatts here in South Carolina. And when you think of a system this size, it becomes pretty easy to see how valuable it is to have such a large geographic area with varied terrain to find the best spots for siting, and how spreading the costs over 4.7 million customers helps with managing our cost and rate impacts that customers ultimately feel.
And I'll note, this slide may be familiar to some of you. We've used this slide before, but what continues to be notable, at least to me, is that you can see our system spans state lines. Our system doesn't know that there's a state line running in the middle of it. As we talk about IRPs, this remains a key fact for us. Our IRPs are for this system, and our IRPs are filed in both states. And this makes sense as our generation in North Carolina serves South Carolina, and our generation in South Carolina serves North Carolina, as do our transmission lines. But for us, it's more than electricity. We're good neighbors and good partners for South Carolina's prosperity, bringing $7.6 billion in economic impact annually to the state, as well as helping bring thousands of good jobs to South Carolina. The IRP is our cornerstone. Through it, we determine system needs. It guides our near-term actions to meet those needs and anchors nearly every major decision we bring before the Commission concerning new generation and infrastructure and customer programs. To put it simply, IRPs look forward 15 years to forecast energy and capacity needs and then determines the most economical and reliable way to meet them. And then that's what we bring for the Commission's decision. The IRPs are required by statute. Act 62 from 2019 changed the way IRPs are evaluated and decided, and then that was refined by Act 41 in 2025. We make comprehensive IRP filings at least every 3 years and annual updates in between, as the Commission is aware. And to us, IRPs are not academic exercises. They directly inform execution activities, things like our competitive procurements, our EE and DSM programs, new generation and associated transmission, and actions necessary to preserve longer-term options for resources with long lead times. We spend a lot of time in dockets referencing IRPs, and this makes sense. As we go and do, it makes sense to frame what we're doing with the why, meaning as we advance and execute on much-needed resources, it makes sense to link the analysis that established the need and the analysis that looks at the cost assumptions for the resources that were selected to meet that need. Act 62 in 2019 significantly strengthened South Carolina's IRP statute, adding about 1,000 words to the code, including much of the language you see here. These provisions establish the balancing factors that the General Assembly has directed the Commission to consider when making decisions on comprehensive IRPs. In 2025, Act 41 further refined that framework, including the additions seen here in blue. Looking at factors A and B, Act 41 reinforced the importance of supporting economic development, both new investment and retaining existing industry, while maintaining adequate capacity and reserve margins. It also emphasizes affordability with the goal of meeting customer needs at least reasonable cost. That same concept translates through in factors G, which is to us particularly relevant to Duke Energy. The efficiencies of an integrated multi-state system help deliver reliable service and keep rates below the national average in a region experiencing sustained growth. That outcome does not happen by accident. Our system is a core strength and positions us to bring forward a plan that balances reliability, affordability, and growth in a way that makes sense for South Carolina customers and the state. The Commission, I believe, is well familiar with the IRP update statute, and that's what we have filed our update under. It just made sense to us to provide this as a reference slide, and just noting that, that the IRP update is typically a more narrow proceeding than a comprehensive IRP, which we will be filing later this year. So we're in the update phase now with our comprehensive IRP to be filed later in the year. And so if you think about it, every year we're bringing forth updates and revised plans. And we included in the appendix an example of the milestone dates out toward the next few years for those filings. It's a journey. At the outset, we would like to thank the Commission for the many, many days we've spent in this room and all the space that we've taken up on the DMS system since the 2023 IRP order was issued late in 2024. In our near-term action plan approved in 2024, we identified several actions that were necessary to serve the system, and we have been making good on what we said we would do. We've spent a lot of time and ink, as has the Commission and the ORS and other parties, as we have navigated dockets either initiated or concluded since that IRP order was issued in late 2024. Dockets like the 2022 solar RFP, the 2023 solar and storage RFP docket, and the 2024 CPRE docket. We filed to open Siting Act dockets for Robinson, a solar plant at Robinson, as well as the Anderson CC. And we've also initiated a docket for procuring standalone batteries sited in South Carolina as directed by Act 41. We've also filed for approval of 4 new natural gas facilities located in North Carolina and serving South Carolina as well, as Act 41 allows us to do. and that's currently pending before the Commission. And we filed for a business combination, which will simplify this process and we believe bring great benefit to South Carolina. So as we look at the road that we're on, that little truck there has traveled a lot of miles since the IRP order was issued by you in 2024, but we still have a long way to go.
That's right. And coming back to our 2025 IRP update, to the last comprehensive IRP, it helps to think about where we've left off. In the 2024 order on that comprehensive IRP, the Commission found our near-term action plan to be a reasonable and appropriate guide for the company's generation and transmission planning and procurement activities in the near term, subject to updates based on changing conditions. So as we execute on the activities in that near-term action plan, we're capturing real-world lessons and we're incorporating them into our future IRPs and into future execution as well. And this continuous loop of learnings and implementing them into future planning, this continuous loop ensures that every IRP is building on the experience and the insights that we gained from previous execution. And it's strengthening our planning process over time. We're also bringing our stakeholders along in the journey with us, both providing them information and seeking feedback from them as we navigate a dynamic and changing environment together. There are many real-life, real-time, external considerations that really shape our IRPs and our IRP updates. And we're constantly monitoring the complex and dynamic environment for things that may impact the execution of our IRPs or that might change our planning assumptions. Things like changes in federal, state, and local policy and priorities, worldwide or national events that could affect things like our supply chain or fuel security, shifting customer needs, just to name a couple. We could probably have an entire briefing on this slide alone and the external factors that impact our IRP, but maybe we'll just save that one for another day. There is a robust discussion on these dynamic external factors on pages 16 and 100 of the IRP update. With long-term planning comes an inherent amount of uncertainty. And as Heather mentioned, we recognize that there will be iterative planning cycles in the future. So as we develop our IRP and our IRP updates, we must build flexibility into our planning strategy by creating an executable portfolio and set of near-term actions that accommodate a range of future outcomes, accounting for many of these dynamic factors, while at the same time carefully considering the practical limitations of the current environment. Said differently, we really need to strike a balance between responding to these types of external factors and actively executing on the resources that we need to reliably meet our current and future customers' energy needs. And we're doing that. We've made strong progress on advancing the reasonable steps included in the approved 2023 near-term action plan, and our 2025 action plan builds on that strong foundation created in the last comprehensive IRP. Each of the subject matter experts that we've brought with you today are going to dive deeper into each of their respective resource types. But at a high level, we are advancing a number of new natural gas generation projects. Dan Donishad will cover those. We're adding significant amounts of solar and battery energy storage, and Justin LaRoche and Evan Shearer will discuss those in detail with you as well. Additionally, we're making progress on our long lead resources and EEDSM programs. We are rigorously evaluating nuclear technology options available in the late 2030s, and Runette Nader will speak to you about those today. And simultaneously, we're advancing several energy efficiency and demand-side management programs that help us shrink the challenge of meeting future customer energy needs. We're also preserving optionality for pumped storage hydro in 2040. And as you can see, our 2025 IRP update does not include onshore or offshore wind in the planning period. So over time, these resources will change how our system generates energy. And this slide shows how our projected generation mix will change over time as we execute on the resources that are critical to adequately meeting our current and anticipated future customers' energy needs between now and 2040. And we're doing so in the most reliable and economical way. I'd like to come back to the statutory balancing factors that Heather mentioned earlier. And I recognize there are a lot of words on this slide. So I'm going to try to kind of hit this at a high level, but it's important. These balancing factors are critical. They are the foundation upon which our IRPs and our IRP updates are built. In our IRPs, over the course of almost a year, nearly 100 people from the company provide thousands of inputs, provide calculations, they provide supporting documentation to ensure that our IRP embodies these critical balancing factors. And after months of collaboration, both internally and with hundreds of external stakeholders, after hundreds of modeling runs and thousands of pages of work product, our IRP doesn't just meet the statutory balancing factors. Our IRP is the balancing factors. Every element of our planning process is designed to deliver the most reasonable and prudent means of meeting our energy and capacity needs at that time. And I'll be the first to say that I am not an expert on each of these factors individually. I'm fairly certain nobody in the company is. But here are a couple of examples of how these balancing factors truly are our comprehensive planning process. They aren't just items that we're checking off or incorporating. They are the plan itself. So in item A, and I won't go back through and read the balancing factors, but for subsection A, we ensure that our plans have the sufficient capacity to serve our anticipated peak load. It is non-negotiable in our planning process. Our recommended portfolio and our sensitivity portfolios within the IRP and IRP update all must reliably serve our forecasted peak and meet the planning reserve margin requirements necessary to serve customers who are here, customers who have decided to come here, and those who are planning to come here. For subsection B, we evaluate present value revenue requirements and we conduct comprehensive customer impact analyses to ensure that every portfolio decision prioritizes least cost principles. The companies maintain some of the most competitive rates in the nation, below national average, and the projected impacts of our 2025 IRP update are less than inflation. Our energy efficiency and demand-side management programs that Tim Duff will speak about shortly not only shrink our capacity challenge, but they provide critical relief to budget-constrained or budget-challenged customers. Portfolio cost drives every resource planning recommendation, ensuring that we deliver the most reasonable and prudent path forward for our customers. And all of this helps with economic development, which I know is a key priority of the state. In section C, it's no secret that we are operating in a period of high uncertainty and evolving agency and federal requirements. And our plan must be consistent with the laws and regulations that will actually govern the resources that we're going to add to the system. We are continuously monitoring the regulatory landscape, and we incorporate a variety of sensitivities into our planning process that account for potential changes in policy. Where regulatory requirements are uncertain or subject to change, we are planning based on the most reasonable expectation of what will be in effect when our resources come online, ensuring that our investments are aligning with durable, enforceable requirements rather than transitory mandates. In Section D, as with Section A, power supply reliability is non-negotiable. Reliability drives our planning decisions, ensuring that we're adding the right mix of resources at the right pace to maintain the reliability that our customers demand and depend on every day. Every portfolio that we evaluate undergoes rigorous reliability verification, and all portfolios and all sensitivities included in the IRP must reliably serve our customers. In Section E, we rigorously test our portfolios across multiple fuel forecasts through various sensitivity analyses. Our near-term action plan, included in our 2025 IRP update, it proves robust across high and low fuel forecasts. In other words, we would build the same resources regardless of where commodity prices go. For F, our diverse portfolio, it serves as a hedge against operational and fuel cost risks associated with over-reliance on a single technology. We take full advantage of our expansive service territory, our varied terrain, and the economies of scale we have to bring these resources online. And finally, for subsection G, as I mentioned earlier, we provide service to about 4.7 million customers in South Carolina and North Carolina, and our size is a strength. The dual state system affords us the opportunity to cost-effectively deploy resources for the benefit of customers. I began this slide by talking about the tremendous collaboration that goes into ensuring that our IRP embodies the balancing factors. And as we wind down our portion of the presentation, I feel it is important to highlight how much we are engaging along the way. This is a snapshot of what we have done and what we are doing to engage stakeholders in a transparent manner. Stakeholder engagement it's just critical for our planning process. And even our processes have become more efficient as we've been able to bring stakeholders along with us and us with them in solving for South Carolina's future resource needs. Over the past few years, we've invited around 1,000 individuals representing hundreds of organizations to various sessions focused on gathering feedback on the inputs and assumptions that we include in our IRPs. And as you can see, we've had incredibly active participation across our previous IRP cycles. And we're looking forward to kicking off our 2026 IRP engagement effort next month. I included in the appendix of this presentation some of the topics and plans for moving from our 2025 IRP update straight into our 2026 IRP, and encourage you all to take a look at those topics as well. And I think it's good to note that we engage stakeholders in a variety of ways, including several matters that are impactful to the inputs and the topics that we include in our IRP.
Yeah, I think I'll maybe also focus on these a little bit. I mean, you can see the robust stakeholder engagement we do for IRPs on the left side. But that's not our only interaction with stakeholders. We have a very robust EE and DSM collaborative that Mr. Duff can address. We do a lot of stakeholder engagement for distributed energy resources, particularly in our RFP, in the RFP context. We do stakeholder engagement for electric transportation issues. Transmission is top of mind through the Carolinas Transmission Planning Collaborative and other associated stakeholder efforts around that. And then we have a very robust practice of project-specific infrastructure engagement. And that's really important to us, and I feel like that's a great point for us to transition from as we move on to other speakers. We're not just engaged with regulatory stakeholders, we're very engaged with local stakeholders. A resource identified in an IRP may be on paper, but when that resource is built and takes the shape of a CC or a solar farm or a transmission line, it's no longer on paper, but becomes a neighbor to the surrounding environment and community and the places where people in South Carolina live, work, and play. And we're there too. And so as we talk about planning and as we talk about execution, it just felt right to end on the responsibility and honor that we have to serve customers in this state. And with that, I think we're ready to turn it over to Mr. Duff.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Williams, and fellow commissioners. It's a privilege to be here today. My name is Tim Duff. I am the General Manager of Customer Solutions Regulatory Enablement, and I'll be talking to you today about our Grid Edge customer programs that are reflected in the resource plan, specifically EE and DSM programs. And I think it's really kind of appropriate that I am the first presenter today on the different resources that are considered, because EE and DSM is considered first. We look at trying to shrink the challenge by reducing the load that customers use, by shifting and reducing the peak that we have to meet through our EE DSM programs, so that we're only putting in the necessary resources to provide reliable service to our customers. And then secondly, it's kind of apropos that I'm talking about efficiency, because I'm going to try and give you a very robust picture of the update in the efficiency section in the IRP in very few slides. So give you a lot with a few slides. So if you look at some of the updates that have been reflected in the 2025 IRP, really I'm going to focus on some of the kind of bigger programs that we talked about in the 2023 IRP that have been approved. We got approval of our income qualified demand response program. This program really allows us to leverage a very effective outreach that we have to income qualified customers to make them aware of the bill credits that they can receive for participating in a DSM program and shifting their peak. And the fact that we had a smart thermostat measure which can be used for load control really helped facilitate this, and we've seen really promising uptake in this program since it was approved and launched. Secondly, we've done a number of things in the low-income area across both DEC and DEP to really try and enhance our participation and offerings to those customers. We have brought the DEC weatherization program, where we work cooperatively with local agencies, to DEP. And we've also introduced a high energy use pilot that not only looks at income qualified customers, but really looks at those income qualified customers with over 17,000 kilowatt hours of annual usage, to see the customers that have the most savings opportunity and really target them to really get the most savings for not only those participating customers, but again, the overall system benefits by those energy savings that are achieved. One of the more exciting ones we talked about in the 2023 IRP was the addition of a residential battery storage load control program. We've seen tremendous success with this program. We've got over 5,500 participants in this DR program, and this is a really attractive program because because it is storage, you're not actually reducing a customer's usage through their air conditioner or through their heat pump or their water heater. You're actually using a battery, so there's no impact to their comfort. So we're really pleased that we're seeing such high participation in this program, because it provides not only bill credits for those customers, but again, provides that reduction in peak load. And then one of the other updates was the tariff on bill repayment program was denied since the 2023 IRP. And we're encouraged that when talking with stakeholders, some of the changes in Act 41 may facilitate trying to reevaluate bringing this program back in South Carolina.
Ms. Dove, could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
You mentioned the battery storage system. Is this, as far as residential, is it directly related to people with electric vehicles, or has it expanded beyond that?
It actually is not tied to electric vehicles. That's one of the things that we're working on. There's much less customer anxiety when you're talking about a battery that isn't tied to their mobility. So it is something we're continuing to evaluate, is a battery or load control program for EVs, but this program is not tied to electric vehicles.
Tied to solar?
It does not have to be. Some customers have solar, some do not. But again, it's really trying to take advantage of that resource that customers have for resiliency, or, for your point, leveraging to try and take advantage of time differentiated rates with the storage. And it allows us to take that resource, give customers a financial incentive for us to control it, and control it to shift away peak times.
Thank you, and I apologize for interrupting your presentation.
Not at all. So if you look at where we are in the IRP forecast, again, we provide three sensitivities. There's a base case, a high case, and a low case. And as you can see, there is a considerable difference between the two. Our base case is that we assume that we will achieve no less than 1% of eligible retail sales per year. And so that's a significant number of savings. It's important that I do say eligible, because it's not total retail sales. As the commission probably knows, we have a significant portion of our non-residential customers who choose not to participate in our programs, and therefore we can't give them programs or achieve savings from them, so we don't count them in that eligible load. We also remove electric vehicle load, because there's no known efficiency measure right now. It's not like there's a high efficiency electric vehicle out there. So we also back out that load, because we only want to kind of model what is actually aggressive but achievable over that 25-year horizon. And I think if this slide we're really proud of. This really comes out every year. It's kind of a little bit of a lag in terms of the timing. But as you can see, Duke, both Carolinas and Progress, continue to deliver, not only significantly above the Southeastern utility average, but above the U.S. utility average, and in DEC's case, above the large utility average. And so what you're seeing is that all of the work that we've done, the constructive regulatory outcomes and stakeholder engagement around EE and DSM, continue to pay dividends, because this high level of savings is getting reflected in the resource plan, and again, shrinks the challenge for what traditional supply side investments we need to meet our load moving forward. Finally, I just want to kind of talk about some activities that have been going on that will continue to support our achievement of that long-term forecast. Because, as I said, we're assuming 1% every year is our base. We won't go below 1% in that base case. So we need to continue to move the ball forward. Some of the things that we've done in the past year that wouldn't be reflected in the update were to do a comprehensive program modification update. It was approved by the commission in July of last year and went into effect in August. We really updated our incentive levels. taking into account the value that the energy savings and peak capacity are really delivering to the system now, and making sure that the incentives that we're providing customers to participate are commensurate with those values. In February, the company was excited that the commission approved a non-residential storage program. Again, we've seen success in the residential space, and we believe that there's potential for significant size batteries to participate in this program and give us valuable peak shaving opportunities through the storage. And then finally, the company is working to update its EEDSM cost recovery mechanism. And one of the things that we have proposed in that mechanism is to tie the company's shared savings or utility incentive to that 1% of eligible retail sales. Really saying, hey, you know what, we're going to walk the talk. We're willing to tie our performance towards that 1% to the utility incentive component of the mechanism. And again, that's pending right now. But that's really what I wanted to get through today. Really appreciate the opportunity, and I'll turn it over to questions for myself and the rest of the panel.
Thank you very much, all three of you. Any commissioner questions? Commissioner Britt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Duff, if you go back to page 19, the chart of the Southeast.
Yes.
I've got a question there.
Yep.
What are y'all doing in North Carolina and South Carolina that's far exceeding everyone else with this program?
So what I would say is this is really a result to a commitment that's been almost 15 to 20 years. The company has realized that this is a way to help customers save on their bills. And the other thing I'll say is we have been very fortunate to have very strong stakeholder relationships where we're getting a lot of input onto voids in our portfolio and things that we can offer to customers to try and help them save energy. And so I think those two things combined, along with the constructive regulatory landscapes we operate in, have really allowed us to continue to achieve at such a high level.
That's an incredible, difference. Yeah. And much credit goes to the team you have in South Carolina and North Carolina. I mean, that's phenomenal, especially when you look at Georgia, even your Florida sister down there, or brother. I mean, it is phenomenal. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Britt. Any further commissioner questions? Commissioner Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess this question might be for Ms. Hall or maybe Ms. Shirley Smith a little earlier in the presentation, kind of a maybe a little bit of a nitpicky thing in IRP information. If you could go to I think it's your page 5. I guess I want to look back because you're not operating yet as one company, but in the South Carolina part where you have showing Kershaw County as overlapping territory, can you talk to me about how the resources have been allocated? I guess in the past, I remember when things were separate, when it was before the Duke Progress merger even. And I guess I similarly thought of Lancaster maybe being one of those overlapping counties, but you're not showing that here. You're just showing Kershaw. How have you dealt with that overlay? And you have some, of course, I'm not going to get into the North Carolina counties, but how do you account for, or how have you dealt with that overlapping in terms of resource planning and allocation for areas like that may have been previously been progress only territory, but it's now part of DEP, and you got some DEC obviously if you're showing that shaded in the dark blue. So if you could just touch on that just a minute.
Sure. From a cost allocation perspective, it would follow if in that overlapping territory, if we have a mixture of DEC or DEP customers, then those revenues, that load, et cetera, will follow that utility. So that's how it's captured sort of on the back end. And I can leave it to Ms. Hall to address how it's captured from a planning perspective.
Yeah, and similarly, from a planning perspective, we're planning for, DEC and for DEP currently separately. I think the way that we depicted it on this map is it's easier, at least for me and I think for others, to see it by county rather than if we just split a line straight up the state and had DEC on one side and DEP on the other side. But each of our utilities currently has to meet our planning reserve margin and has to plan for the resources that are needed for their respective service territory. Now we have kind of a hybrid planning approach now that does consider a future combined utility, but does not fully plan for one.
And so that would, I guess you're considering all load forecasting too, and I know this commission doesn't get into approving wholesale, but if you had a wholesale agreement that was either in, that's previously been in or is not in that particular overlapping area, of course, naturally you'd have to take that
That's right.
in consideration as well.
That's right. We consider our entire load forecast, which includes wholesale.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only other words would be, and it's not really a question, I would just echo what Commissioner Britt said. That's quite impressive, Mr. Duff, on the page 19. When you note where DEC and DEP are in performance, and this is 2024, but noting where you all are in terms, as Ms. Shirley Smith said, in buy-in and performance, in those two numbers, those are, you're exceeding the U.S. large utility average and the U.S. utility average, and then, I look at TVA, who I would think would have a little more buy-in into something like that, and of course, they're way down at the other end of the spectrum. So I just say quite a chart to show on page 19.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitfield.
Chair Powell.
Commissioner Caston.
I guess since we're on page 19, and I'm not asking for any information to be added or included. I'm assuming probably when we get into the mechanism hearing and or the IRP, we'll probably delve more deeply into the details of all that. I assume some of the distinctions, such as Florida Duke, will probably because of a distinction in what the state allows or doesn't allow as far as the mechanism to determine these things and considering costs and that kind of stuff.
Yes, Florida operates under a very different regulatory construct. It promotes peak demand savings far more than energy savings. So if you're looking at energy savings, Florida utilities will generally do more poorly than we do in our other jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Casson. Any further commissioner questions? I would thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What else you got, Mr. Welber?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As our first panel retires and our second panel takes their seats, I will note that as explained in the IRP update and as mentioned by our first panel, we have been busy on executing on resources in the Carolinas. And we filed two updates with this commission, one on April 1st and the other on October 13th, filed in this IRP update docket 2023-8E and 2023-10E. for the Commission's awareness as to our ongoing execution activities on various resources. And if you look at Section 4 of the IRP update filed on November 25th, there's a more fulsome update on our execution-related activities, both in terms of what we've been doing, but also what we're looking ahead to do in the Carolinas in terms of executing on those resources. And so our second panel is here to speak to this Commission about 4 categories of those resource execution activities: new nuclear, battery energy storage, solar, and new gas resources. So like we did for the first panel, I'll ask that our presenters introduce themselves to you and we'll get going. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Chair.
Thank you. And while they're settling in, Mr. Pearson, welcome back.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Glad to see you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm one organ down, but happy to be here.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, thank you, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Williams, members of the Commission. I'm Renette Nader, Vice President of New Nuclear Generation and License Renewal for Duke Energy. In that capacity, I'm responsible for the development of the company's new nuclear strategy and the execution of subsequent license renewals for all 11 units to operate up to 80 years. I've worked at Duke Energy for 34 years. I started as an engineer at Oconee Nuclear Station near Seneca. I've had roles in engineering, licensing, strategy, and major projects. I am a native South Carolinian. I was born and raised in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. I have a bachelor's in engineering and a master's in business from the University of South Carolina. Oh, we have to put the slides up. On the first slide, I want to, before I delve into our new nuclear options for the future, I wanted to acquaint you or reacquaint you with our existing nuclear fleet. This is a map of our existing fleet. Duke Energy operates the largest regulated nuclear fleet in the U.S., 11 reactors at 6 sites in the Carolinas, 3 in South Carolina, and 3 in North Carolina, that generate approximately 11 gigawatts of energy. The 3 sites in South Carolina are Oconee Nuclear Station in Oconee County, our largest site of 3 units, the Catawba Nuclear Station in York County, and the Robinson Nuclear Plant in Darlington County. A couple of notes I wanted to mention specifically on Oconee and Robinson. In March of 2025, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission renewed all 3 of Oconee's licenses from 60 years up to 80 years, meaning they're licensed through 2053 and 2054. And for Robinson, we submitted a subsequent license renewal application to the NRC in April of last year, and we're expecting that renewed license to be issued next month, allowing operation of Robinson until 2050. We're also taking steps to maximize the capacity of the existing plants. In 2024, the Oconee station added 46 megawatts to the system by successfully completing power uprates of the units. We're pursuing similar uprates at the Brunswick Nuclear Plant, McGuire Nuclear Station, and Catawba Nuclear Station. And in addition to these uprate projects, we're also working to transition 3 of our stations, Catawba, Harris, and McGuire, from 24-month fuel cycles to 18-month fuel cycles, reducing the number of refueling outages over the lifetime of the plants. In 2025, our nuclear fleet achieved a record capacity factor of 97%. This means that the nuclear units were producing their maximum capacity nearly all the time. 2025 marked the 27th consecutive year that our nuclear fleet exceeded a 90% capacity factor, but the 2025 capacity factor was an all-time record of 97%.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? Sure. Ms. Nader, could you repeat that statement about reducing the refueling, the changing of the refueling time? Would you repeat that?
So 3 of our plants currently have 18-month fuel cycles, meaning that every 18 months we have to shut down for refueling. And we have projects underway to extend those fuel cycles from 18 to 24 months.
I processed what you said backwards.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if it was me or you, but
I hope I didn't say it backwards.
I processed it that you were going from 24 to 18 and that would reduce the number of refueling. That's why I was asking the question.
Sorry. 18 to 24. So 3 of our plants are on 24-month cycles already. The other 3 are at 18.
Okay.
We'll get those to 24.
Thank you.
So that the whole fleet will be on 24.
It's probably a glitch with me. Thank you.
No problem. So on this slide, we added 3 potential new nuclear sites that are indicated by the gold stars. The most northern star there is the Blues Creek site in Stokes County, North Carolina. It's the home of an existing 2-unit dual-fired steam station. We're considering small modular reactors or non-light water reactors for this site. To the west is the W.S. Lee site in Cherokee County, South Carolina. And on the east, that star is the Harris site in Wake County, North Carolina. It's the home to the existing single nuclear unit, Harris Nuclear Plant. And both of these sites, the W.S. Lee site and the Harris site, provide optionality for large light water reactors. As we move to the next slide, I'll provide details on each of these. So turning our attention to the 2025 South Carolina IRP update, modeling reaffirmed new nuclear generation to be a foundational resource in the 2025 update, and it is critical to continue to carefully and deliberately assess the potential for new nuclear resources. Consistent with the 2023 plan, we're also continuing to implement our second mover strategy for advanced nuclear, meaning that the first available deployment of new nuclear units would occur only after first-of-a-kind projects have successfully progressed. There are some differences between the 2023 and the 2025 plan that I'll note. The 2023 plan focused solely on small modular reactors, whereas the 2025 update focuses on new nuclear optionality and the consideration of both small modular reactors and large light water reactors to modernize our system and meet the growing needs of customers.
Ms. Nader, may I ask you something on that? And if the next slide clears it up, forgive me. I was wondering about that, the SMRs versus the larger scale relative to, I guess, the right now, snapshot now, the technology, the constructability and such. Is one ahead of the other relative to those two items, the large scale or the small modular?
Yeah, I think 2 slides from now, I'm going to talk about the technology. I'll try to address it then. Okay. I'll also note the differences between the 2023 and 2025 plan. Based on the need to continue evaluating these technologies that have not yet been deployed, and allow more time for collaboration with the industry on these first-of-a-kind projects. The in-service timeline for new nuclear was moved 2 years from 2035 to 2037 between the 2 plans. And by January 1st, 2037, the 2025 plan calls for either 600 megawatts from 2 small modular reactors at our Blues Creek site in North Carolina, or 1,117 megawatts from 1 AP1000 unit at the W.S. Lee site in South Carolina. I'll also acknowledge differences not specifically with the IRP, but in general between 2023 and 2025, is that federal and state policies have increased support for advanced nuclear technologies, including large light water reactors such as the Westinghouse AP1000, in addition to small modular reactors. So the near-term actions from the 2025 plan for the Blues Creek site in North Carolina that we've discussed, we did submit an early site permit application to the NRC for potential new nuclear development at this site. An early site permit will confirm the site's suitability for new nuclear units and resolve environmental and site safety topics on the front end, reducing delays during licensing and construction. The application includes 6 technologies, and those are on the next slide. We'll talk about them in a little more detail. 4 small modular reactors and 2 non-light water reactor designs. Large light water reactors are not included in this early site permit for Blues Creek. That permit review is under review now with the NRC. We're in the audit phase of that review. The process will also include a public scoping comment, a public comment period. And we'll expect to receive that permit from the NRC in 2027. It has an approximately 18-month review from submittal. The W.S. Lee site in South Carolina The near-term action plan calls for updating the existing Lee license. We maintain 2 operating licenses for 2 AP1000s at that site. Those licenses were received in 2016. And so the 2 AP1000s that are currently in operation in the U.S. and Georgia provide valuable insights for potential subsequent projects. And so we can update the 2016 license to reflect the design changes made during the project construction of Plant Vogel in Georgia. That's underway currently. At the Harris site, we're also evaluating updating a combined license application. The companies originally submitted an application for a construction and combined light and operating license for 2 AP1000s at the Sharon Harris plant in Wake County in 2008. That NRC review was suspended in 2013. The application remains in suspended status with the NRC, and the companies continue to submit required reports to the NRC. So we would look at potentially updating that application also to reflect design changes from Plant Vogel. So here's the nuclear technology slide. I wanted to just go through and provide an update of kind of where these technologies are. In the U.S., there are more than a dozen vendors that actually have large or small modular reactors or non-light water reactors in various phases of design. These are the 7 that I say we are monitoring most closely. The top row is the large light water reactor, the AP1000, that I think most people are probably pretty familiar with. The AP1000 became operational at Georgia Power's Plant Vogel, Units 3 and 4, in 2023 and 2024. So these units represent first-of-a-kind projects for the AP1000 in the U.S. As I mentioned, the W.S. Lee site is a top site for potential deployment in the Carolinas for an AP1000. And so the picture to the right is actually an artist rendering of the AP1000 on the W.S. Lee site. The next 2 rows of technologies are included in the Blues Creek early site permit application that we submitted to the NRC: small modular reactors and non-light water reactors. So the small modular reactors are very similar to the plants we have in service today, just a scaled down version, but they're light water cooled, and so the technology is very similar. The non-light water reactors are the next generation of reactors that use something other than water for coolant. We feel that these are probably more like a 2040s type deployment, but there are a couple of projects underway that I'll discuss. So first, for the small modular reactors, the leading technology is the GE Verona Hitachi BWRX 300. We're closely monitoring a couple of projects underway with this technology. Ontario Power Generation in Canada, at their Darlington site, they are planning 4 units there. They have 1 unit under construction. And TVA at their Clinch River site, they have submitted a construction permit application to the NRC for the BWRX 300 at that site. We're also participating in a technology collaboration agreement that works to advance this technology. The other technologies on the SMR, or small modular reactor line, are the Holtec SMR 300. Holtec has submitted a construction permit to the NRC for potential deployment at their Palisades site in Michigan. The NuScale design has an approved design by the NRC, but there are no deployments planned. And the Westinghouse AP300 is a scaled-down version of the AP1000. There are currently also no deployments planned for that design as well. For the non-light water reactors, the TerraPower Natrium reactor, they actually just earlier this month received a construction permit from the NRC to begin nuclear-related construction in their Kimmerer, Wyoming site. And so that construction is underway. We're gleaning a lot of knowledge from this project. We actually have 3 employees embedded with the TerraPower team. That project has ARDP demonstration federal funding, and so our employees are embedded with that team. They support the TerraPower team with operations and maintenance strategies, and they'll bring back a lot of those learnings for us as we continue to develop our new nuclear strategies. The X-Energy XE100 is being planned for deployment by Dow Chemical in Seadrift, Texas. They're looking to provide process heat as well as electricity to one of their facilities there. They have submitted a construction permit to the NRC, but have not yet received approval. So Commissioner Caston, I think I would say here to address your question, these designs are in various phases of maturity. As far as deployment and construction lessons learned, we're gonna, the AP1000 obviously has been built. We know that it's operating, very well in Georgia. So we have, we have confidence in the constructability of it and the lessons learned from that project. We are learning a lot from the BWRX 300 deployment in Canada in terms of constructability, but it's still very early. They're looking to place the base mat, I believe, next month. So they've done a lot of digging there. They're making a lot of progress, but again, that project's still very early. And that concludes my. That concludes my presentation. So, any questions?
Commissioner Henley.
Yeah, sorry. On the second mover strategy, to the extent you're waiting to see one go before you. I think you answered it just with the AP1000. So Vogel, I guess, satisfies that for AP1000.
It does. We consider Vogel first mover.
And is it technology specific beyond that? So, for example, you'd need to see a AP300 or SMR 300 before you built an APR 300 or SMR 300, or?
Yes, we would like to see construction and licensing in the U.S.
Of the exact plant in the U.S. Got it.
Correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Henley. Ms. Nader, we've been hearing about SMRs now for several years, and for the longest time, they seemed to be like leprechauns. We talk about them, but nobody's seen one. And now following up on Commissioner Henley's questions, when you're waiting to see what would be that wait period, I mean, I know it takes a while to build these things. What sort of waiting period is Duke looking at before getting further involved with SMRs?
So I think, as I mentioned, we have folks for the SMRs. I would say that the Canadian deployment is going to provide us with the most opportunity to really
what's
see
that
the
time period?
the time period. I believe they're looking at a 2030 deployment or commercial operation date for Canada. The timeline for construction for an SMR is typically around 4 to 5 years. A little longer for a large reactor like an AP1000. But because these designs are not really as matured, maybe as quickly as a couple of years ago we thought they would, we want to be sure that we don't make a decision, or we wouldn't want to go to the field with an immature design or an incomplete design until we know that there's we have a definitive experience that it can be constructed and constructed in a timely manner.
So as far as any construction of an SMR by Duke, it will be at least 2030 before that's considered or done?
To start construction?
Yes.
Well, we have a timeline that's in the plan. Hold on 1 second. So we have a timeline for small modular reactors, figure 4-2, and for large, such as the AP1000 and 4-3. And so there's a lot of licensing that would have to occur actually before you could even start construction, obviously. But we do have the start of construction right around the 2030 timeframe. Before that, for example, we have the early site permit in front of the NRC today that would need to be approved. Following that, you would submit a construction permit application or a combined operating license application to the NRC. and that would have to be approved before you could actually start nuclear, safety-related construction. So around 2030, and by then, particularly for the BWRX 300, we'd have a lot of construction lessons learned. And for the non-light water reactors that are a different technology, those reactors, we would definitely want to see those up and operating and get some actual operating experience with those.
So those are still leprechauns.
They're still leprechauns, although, they're making progress in Wyoming, and Texas. And so we'll see some of that. But because the technology is just different than the light water technology that we operate today, we feel like we would need to see operations of those. For the small modular reactors that are light water technologies, it's mainly the construction experience that we would want to glean before we started construction.
Thank you for that explanation. I had one other question, and we're changing gears here. For 2 or 3 years, I keep asking and saying that apparently now we've reached the point where our international relations with other countries is a scorched earth policy. Why? And obviously the prices are going to keep going up, or are we going to be denied access? Why are we not storing more nuclear products that, they last forever, the things you need as far as supplies? Why have we not been more aggressive, not just Duke, but in this country, about getting the necessary things from Russia, other countries that we may not be able to get in the future?
And you're talking about like supply chain for new
Yes.
nuclear reactors, getting supply chain up? Yeah. I think supply chain it's kind of one of those chicken or the egg things, right? Is to have order book deployments for supply chain to get up and moving. The supply chain folks want to see the order books. The order books want to see that supply chain is mature. But we've done, along with our technology evaluations that we've been performing, we do evaluate the adequacy or the health of potential supply chain. But it is, to place an order for long lead equipment, is the phrase that's typically used for the equipment that would be needed that would need to start fabrication several years before you start construction.
Yes.
It's a pretty significant financial investment.
I feel like some sort of doomsayer or something, but I see that graph is going down, 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 and the cost going up, 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 and the availability becoming a real question. It's just, that's all always concerned me, and I hate to be right, but things have just gotten worse and continue to get worse internationally, and that's just a concern of mine.
I understand. We do have a lot of capability in this country. I mean, there are a few very unique components that we don't have capability in this country, but for the most part, we do have a lot of capability in this country, and I think it's one of those. If you build it, they will come, right? As they see, as the companies who fabricate those components see more interest and orders, I think you can bring that supply chain health up to where it needs to be.
And a good example is the supply chain for oil right now. It's like, it's crazy. Thank you. Commissioner Brett.
That's a follow-up. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't think you're being doomsday. I think you're being a realist, especially seeing what's going on in the country, Mr. Chairman. I got a couple of questions, Ms. Nader. You keep using the term deployment. What do you mean by that? Is that when SMR comes online, or is that when the order's made? What do you mean by deployment?
It's really a generic term, just the deployment, a construction and operation of a plant. I don't really have a specific meaning for it, other than just constructing and putting a plant in operation.
So the order's been made and the construction starts. That's what you mean by deployment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can call it that. Yeah.
Because I'm with the chairman. I'm thinking about a timeline. Okay, because we've been hearing about SMRs for several years. And I was thinking they were, they're closer than what you've said. I've been here for a couple of years, 5 to 6 years. They're on submarines. They're here. We're using them now on submarines to manage nuclear subs, and it's not that far off. But that's not what I'm hearing from you right now. And even with companies, their American companies have been chatting. We've read stuff about them looking at SMRs and going in and putting one of these at one of their sites and then selling back to the utility companies, the excess power. What's your feeling on that? Are they ahead of Duke's plans because of I guess the current administration's attitude towards nuclear, and they're encouraging that? So what's your thoughts on that?
So we do see a lot of federal support right now for nuclear, which is good. You do read a lot of headlines in terms of actual projects that have been, I would say, approved or authorized to move forward. We're not seeing a lot of those. And the thing about small modular reactors also is that they still need to be sited in a location that has the infrastructure to support it. Right? They're 1/3 the size of our existing nuclear plants, so they're not micro reactors, right? They're still a decent sized plant that needs water, particularly the grid infrastructure, transmission infrastructure, as well as the local support and a workforce, of several hundred people to operate the plant. So. We're out there a lot talking to a lot of folks as we do our due diligence on these designs. A lot of people are interested. The designs are making some progress, but we haven't seen folks actually, biting the bullet to actually start construction on a new plant.
A few months ago, I heard Commissioner David Wright, who used to be a commissioner on the Public Service Commission with the NRC, made a comment. He said, we don't have any applications on our desk right now at the NRC for SMRs and some other opportunities to generate power, and almost kind of inviting people across the country, get your applications in, we're going to expedite them. And he made the comment, the NRC will not be the holdup. We're ready to move. So
we have seen a lot of strides at the NRC, based on the executive orders and reform in the NRC on timely and efficient reviews of both license renewal applications and our new nuclear prospective applications and our discussions with them.
I'd test him on his challenge.
I'll be sure and do that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Britt. Commissioner Cass.
Thank you, Ms. Nader. You're the one we're talking to right now. What I think I'm hearing is the early site permit. It's something that would have to be done no matter what you do it. It's the first process, no matter what you do.
It is the first step in the licensing process. It's actually not required. We pursued it as a risk mitigation strategy. You could go straight to a construction permit or combined license. Yes.
Understand.
Okay.
Well, you're familiar with membranes.
With
membranes, water treatment membranes.
Okay.
Membrane treatment, and the reason I even say that is, what I think I'm hearing is the company has their hand on the pulse of what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the country, North America. Sounds like you have a good feel for where things are relative to technologies and such. And the reason I even mentioned the membranes is, we didn't want to be the first ones to do it either. I mean, they've been around a long time. There were a lot of companies that produced them. A lot of them didn't make it. And over the course of time, pressures came down, cost came down, made a lot more sense. Eureka. I think I'm hearing that Duke is deliberate. You're not going to rush into anything. And the prudent thing seems to be, let's do what we're doing. Let's work toward it and not try to force a square peg in a round hole. And you're staying on top of it. Is that kind of fair?
I would agree with that assessment in summary. Yes, sir. We are staying on top of it, and we are being extremely deliberate and prudent, and making sure that we evaluate all the options as we go into this decision making.
I'm gonna be quiet. These folks probably want to say something sooner or later. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Commissioner Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Nader, just a couple of quick questions for you. I know this is easily attainable, but since you're sitting here, if you indulge me for about the first 20 to 30 seconds here, you covered a lot of information on page 24 of your presentation. And some of it's in the memo, but the part that was not, that you went through kind of fast, the NRC, U.S. NRC license renewals on Catawba, Oconee, and Robinson plants. Could you give me the dates those are renewed through? I think I got 2053 for Oconee, but you were going a little fast. Could you give me the others?
Yes, sir. So Oconee has subsequent license renewal. So for 80 years, the 3 units expire in 2053 and 2054. 2053 for Unit 1 and 2, 2054 for Unit 3.
1 and 2. And 2054
for Unit 3.
For Unit 3. Okay.
The Robinson plant, currently it's a single unit. It currently expires in July of 2030, but we have that renewal application under review, and we expect it to be approved next month, and that will extend it out to July of 2050. That'll be 80 years.
So pending?
Pending, yes, sir.
Okay. And how about Catawba?
Catawba is a younger station, 2 units, and so both units expire currently in 2043, and that's under their initial license, 60-year licenses. So we have not yet submitted a subsequent license renewal application for Catawba.
Nothing pending, but expires in 2043 on that one.
Yes, sir.
1 or 2 other questions, and I'll leave you alone. You mentioned the Lee facility, and you're going to have to fill in a few gaps of a few years for me here. I do recall you being awarded that license in 2016, and I do recall this commission appropriating some cost recovery in years past to keep that site open as a viable option. But for some reason, I was thinking you all, I won't say not completely forfeited the license, but hit the pause button or something to where no costs were being incurred going beyond 2017 or 2018. Does that sound right? Could you correct me on that?
I'm not sure about that. We do have the license. The license is an active license.
And it was never
withdrawn. Or that for the Harris site, that review was suspended. But for the Lee license, it is a issued license that's good for. Actually, it doesn't have a specific date expiration. It's 40 years from the time you hit a milestone.
And that was for AP 1000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
AP 1000.
Okay. Last question. you had an exchange with Commissioner Britt about SMRs just now. And he talked about no pending applications before NRC. Hasn't, or I don't know of an application, but was TVA not going to be the first to go that route? I thought I had seen an announcement to that effect or something sometime in these gap years of mine that TVA was moving in that direction, and you all, not just you, but other utilities were likely, as you described, watching and seeing as these come into commercial operation. Can you provide any further insight on what's going on with that? Are they moving in that direction?
You are correct, Commissioner, and I had mentioned it earlier, and I probably should have said it when we were speaking, Commissioner Britt. But you're right. TVA does have a construction permit application for the BWRX 300 for their Clinch River site in review with the NRC currently. They submitted it in May of 2025. And they're actually expecting that to be approved this year ahead of their 18-month schedule.
Okay, thank you for that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitfield. Any further commissioner comments, questions?
Can I just ask one quick follow-up?
Commissioner Henley.
Not to mince words, but did I hear you correctly? The furthest along, I think, of the SMRs was in Canada.
That's right. The Canadian version of the NRC has issued a construction permit to Ontario Power Generation for the construction of 4 BWRX 300s at their Darlington site, and so they started construction on the first unit.
So second mover doesn't have to just be the U.S., I guess.
So it's, we kind of look at both projects, both the Darlington OPG project as well as the TVA project, kind of in combination. There are some licensing differences between the Canadian regulations and the U.S. regulations, and so while the Ontario Power Generation project will de-risk a lot of the construction and the design to a certain extent, we're looking to TVA to de-risk the licensing in the U.S. as well as potentially some design changes to that plant for U.S. licensing. So we're really looking at both of those to de-risk the construction in North America and the licensing in the U.S.
Got it. Okay.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. It's a great presentation. That means you fellas have about 30 seconds apiece. Do you need a break? Let's take about a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 20 till 12. We're in recess. Good morning again. We are back on the record on the ex parte communication briefing as to Duke Energy progress and Duke Energy Carolina's update on their integrated resource plan. Continue with the testimony as presented. Thank you all for your patience and giving us a little break.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Williams, members of the Commission. I'm Evan Shearer, and I'm an Energy Storage Development Manager at Duke Energy. I'm here to discuss utility scale battery energy storage. I'll provide a brief overview of the role of battery energy storage in the generation mix, how planning needs have evolved, and where we are today with execution. Battery storage plays two essential roles on the system. In the near term, storage provides dispatchable capacity that supports reliability during peak conditions, which is increasingly important given rapid load growth. Storage projects can be deployed relatively quickly compared to other generation types, allowing us to respond to near-term reliability needs. Over the longer term, storage provides flexibility to integrate variable energy resources. Batteries can reduce, shape, and shift both load and generation, supporting a more diverse generation mix as the system evolves. From a cost perspective, federal investment tax credits, or ITCs, help offset storage project costs. The companies have safe harbored over $1 billion in ITCs in 2025 for projects that will go in service through the end of 2029. That supports continued deployment while incentives remain available into the 2030s. Importantly, those tax credits are passed along directly to customers through rates. Execution requires managing several risks. That includes managing interconnection dependencies through strategic transmission planning, managing tax credit uncertainty through safe harbor actions, as I previously mentioned, managing supply chain constraints and workforce availability through partnerships with key suppliers, and managing uncertainty around longer duration storage through ongoing evaluation of emerging technologies. As depicted to the right, you can see that a typical battery energy storage system would be made up of multiple enclosures, those battery containers. A typical battery enclosure is about the size of a cargo container as depicted there. Each container is comprised of many battery racks, which are comprised of many battery modules, and in turn, thousands of individual battery cells. Nowadays, the enclosures also contain all the equipment needed, such as battery management systems, environmental controls, safety equipment, and even inverters. The 2025 Integrated Resource Plan and Near-Term Action Plan confirms the need for a significant battery energy storage deployment. It targets 5.6 gigawatts of total system battery storage by the beginning of 2034 and 3.6 gigawatts by 2031. And that 2031 target is up from 2.7 gigawatts identified in the 2023 NTAP by the same point in time. From an execution standpoint, the company's built our largest battery storage projects to date in 2025, and we have more and larger projects planned to come online during the 2026 to 2028 timeframe. Shown on the right-hand side of this slide is the 50 megawatt 4-hour Allen Energy Storage Facility in my hometown of Belmont, North Carolina. It consists of 58 enclosures, transformers, and other equipment. You can see Lake Wiley in the back right and South Carolina in the distance there. This project has provided valuable megawatts during significant cold snaps that we've experienced this winter. I'll also mention that DEC, Duke Energy Carolinas, is energizing our first South Carolina battery this week. That's the 4.5 megawatt Longtown microgrid located to the west of Lake Wateree in Ridgeway, South Carolina. Finally, the pace of our storage build-out will depend on both company-led development as well as third-party activity through processes such as CPRE and the standalone storage RFP in South Carolina. These mechanisms support continued progress while maintaining flexibility as system needs evolve. In summary, battery energy storage is a core component of the company's resource strategy. It provides near-term dispatchable capacity, long-term system flexibility, and the ability to respond efficiently to changing system conditions. Planning needs have increased since 2023, and execution is already underway for increasingly large-scale projects. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have before passing the baton to our next speaker, Justin LaRoche.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. Mr. Shear, what's the cost of one of these battery containers?
Good question. So I'll say the Allen Energy Storage Facility, the whole facility.
No, just one.
One of them would be, so I'll just, instead of doing the math here, the whole facility, that 50 megawatts, 200 megawatt hours, is about $100 million, and it's 58 enclosures.
All right. 100 million. Okay, how are looking at the picture that you have, how are they connected to that? That's a substation there, right?
Yeah, that's a generation step-up transformer. It connects then to a generation point of interconnection that's, I guess, to the bottom left outside the picture there.
How are all those containers connected? 'Cause I was trying to just get an eye on it. And I mean, how does it fit in? And
Yeah, so each of the enclosures are kind of the boxes with the two circles on the top, black circles on the top. They connect to a low voltage transformer there that's kind of in between the rows. Those low voltage transformers go over to the step-up transformer, all underground, and then it comes back up.
That's why I
above
can't
ground.
see it.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Yeah, I've never seen one. This is a very good picture. Very helpful. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Caston.
Chair Powers. I was looking at the picture too. You'd mentioned dispatchable. I was thinking in terms of, I guess, standalone. Is it a standalone storage primarily for peak mitigation or other?
I'd say both. So standalone storage right now, the real pressing use case for us at Duke Energy is that capacity, that peak. And that would be the case for a standalone storage facility as well as one that's paired with solar, which is the other paired resource that we have. So you say first thing in the morning, it's really cold in the winter mornings, the battery is going to dispatch over that peak. Sun comes up and is able to start recharging the battery. And then the battery would be charged either by solar or by the grid, whether it's standalone or paired, by that next morning so it's available again.
I didn't see any solar in the picture there, so I'm assuming that's from the grid. Is that?
Yes,
okay?
This is a standalone storage facility at Allen. Correct.
And if this is beyond the scope of this, I'm assuming Ms. Benj will tell me. Raise your hand, shout, and I don't want to do that. But thinking about sizing that, 50 megawatts, however you size that, I just think about just the few lithium batteries I have. How I've done it completely wrong, apparently, how I'm supposed to maintain them and use them, but, go down to zero, then charge slowly over a period of time. What is the life expectancy of typical battery?
Yes, sir. The batteries we're deploying are expected to be 15-year assets, and they're designed so that it's available as a 4-hour resource at the end of that 15 years for most of our deployments so far. There are other strategies that we're looking into as well where you can do an augmentation. So we would build, say, so that you don't need to, you have enough energy available for the first 5 years. And then you can assess, have you been cycling it a lot? Have you not been cycling it as much as you expected? And you can augment and add cells, add enclosures at that site in order to maintain that 4-hour useful capacity.
And you can design it that way. That's from experience and or design techniques.
Yes, sir. It's how we design it. It's also built into the contracts with the vendors, so they'll have a warranty for the battery to be, expected to be dispatched a certain number of cycles per year. You don't have to use all those cycles every single day, but that's part of our contracting with vendors and the design that we have up front.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you could talk to me just a little bit about the Longtown 4.5 megawatt project. I know we're talking about a much smaller amount than the 50 megawatt up at standalone up in Belmont where you're from. But talk to me a little bit about Longtown. It's coming on this month. Just generally, is this your first one in the DEC footprint? And how you not only bring power into it, but how you dispatch accordingly.
Yes, sir.
Out of that facility.
Yes, sir. So I think the size is all a matter of perspective. So in terms of the grid, it's a small battery, but in terms of that local area, if they have an outage, the battery is designed to address 90% of the outages that would occur in that area for that duration. So it has a big impact for that local community, and that's the primary use case it's designed for, is solving a local reliability challenge that we have difficulty addressing through the traditional poles and wires type method. This is one of the two first microgrid projects that we have in Duke Energy Carolinas, the other being Nebo, which is in the mountains in North Carolina, and they're both being energized this month.
About the same time?
Yes, sir.
Close to it?
Yes.
And with that being a DEC resource, as we talked about, I know in that region you've got a little neck of customers, and the co-op's kind of surrounding you largely in that area. But I do get the fact that you're able to deal with, I'm sure I'm going to butcher this one, SAIDI or SAFE, whichever system duration outage, I guess, and that sort of thing. But are you able to, would you send any over to, we talked about Kershaw being a overlapping territory. Is that dispatchable over to that, or is that just stay in the DEC? I know electrons don't know county lines and all those sort of things, but how do you use the resource? And obviously you described minimizing outages, but also, I guess, does it get involved in any peak? You got the turbines there at Lake Watery, but do you get involved into any peak management issues, or is it just 90%, as you say, for outage mitigation?
That's a very good question. So the battery is sized and designed primarily for that distribution use case. So it would be serving that pocket of Duke Energy Carolinas customers. There's no interconnection to the any co-op service territory, so it's really a pocket of customers that we have out there, right. DEC customers. When there's an outage upstream, tree falls on a line, the area would island. There's recloser to open to, and then you would energize that area with that battery. But on a day-to-day basis, if you're not expecting storms, we would be using that battery for addressing our system peaks, providing energy across the system, and it would be providing energy and be dispatched similar to a standalone storage project like at Allen. The difference being we do make sure if there's storms coming through or significant weather coming through that we would hold some of that capability in reserve to make sure it can provide that primary use case.
So multi-purpose
yes,
use,
sir.
Multi-purpose use. And doesn't take up a lot of area acreage-wise, right?
No, sir. So the Allen Energy Storage Facility, 50 megawatts, 58 enclosures, that's a 5-acre site there inside the fence. So do have a very small footprint with the storage deployments, which helps us to site strategically.
So Allen, the 50 megawatt is only 5 acres?
Yeah, that spot, I can see the slide. I don't know if you all can, but within the fence is a 5-acre site.
I've got it in the, and the Longtown one obviously is very small.
Yes, sir. That'd be even smaller footprint.
Well, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any further commissioner questions? All right.
Good morning. My name is Justin LaRoche. I'm the Director of Renewables Development. I lead and oversee our efforts to develop new renewable facilities, including solar paired with storage, and wind, on behalf of Duke Energy's regulated utilities. This includes project siting, land acquisition, energy resource assessment, permitting, obtaining interconnection rights, project layout and design, and contracting for the engineering, procurement, and construction services. I'm also responsible for originating, structuring, and executing transactions with third-party developers to acquire existing renewable development projects. I worked for Duke Energy for 18 years and reside in South Carolina. I have just 2 slides. The first one will focus in on solar as a resource, and then the second one will focus in on execution activities. Solar is a proven, fuel-free, low-cost energy resource. Solar has long been a part of our IRPs as a part of a balanced resource strategy. Solar aids in generation diversity while supporting long-term decarbonization goals. Solar has a short construction cycle. Siting does not require a source of water or gas supply, and installations can be spread across the grid, locating near customer loads, reducing transmission upgrade costs. Solar adds much needed energy to the system, helping us meet customer energy needs. This is limited to daytime energy needs, which lowers net load and contributes to summer peaks. However, solar has limited contribution to those winter morning peaks. The other major benefit solar provides is that it reduces our exposure to fuel price volatility and commodity risks. Solar is an intermittent resource, which we account for in our IRP modeling. This reinforces the need for complementary resources, such as energy storage and pumped hydro, such that we can charge those resources during high solar production times. These storage resources can either be co-located with solar or on the bulk system. Solar does have execution challenges, which I'll highlight just a few. We see moderate interconnection lead times. Like other technologies, there's risk associated with supply chain and changes in policies. We've seen projects not receive their local zoning or permitting approvals. And then lastly, since we have a balance of third-party owned and utility-owned solar, there's risk associated with the attrition for third-party projects. The bottom illustration here compares the volume of new solar resources between the 2023 and the 2025 NTAPs. However, it's not a perfect apples-to-apples comparison since the timeframes are different. Overall, solar resources continue to be an important resource addition for our IRPs. I know there have been recent dockets on solar procurements, and we just wanted to touch on some of the procurement and execution highlights. As of year-end 2024, there was approximately 5.1 gigawatts of solar interconnected into our system. The company has procured approximately 3.1 gigawatts of solar resources through our recent CPREs. The table here illustrates the forecasted capacity in-service dates through our contracted resources from the 2022, 2023, and 2024 CPREs. It's almost evenly split, with 1.6 gigawatts being utility-owned and then 1.5 gigawatts being PPAs. Our 2025 CPRE is in progress, and results will be filed with the Commission later this year. The 2026 CPRE is underway, and an informational filing was recently made. And lastly, the 2025 IRP update calls for 4 gigawatts of new solar resource additions to be in service by January of 2034. Depicted here is our Beaver Dam Solar Center located in Lawrence County, South Carolina. This is our first utility-owned solar facility in South Carolina, expected to be placed into service by the end of the month, maybe the 1st of April. It's a 41 megawatt fixed tilt solar facility. And I'm happy to entertain questions before turning it over to Dan Donishaw to talk about our gas program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you were saying you only have one utility-owned or Duke-owned solar farm in South Carolina?
Operational. This is our first one. There's, I don't have the exact count in front of me, but as mentioned before, the commission has granted a CECPCN for our Robinson solar facility. That should break ground either at the beginning of this year, first of next, and be online by the end of 2027. And then there's a number of other South Carolina sited utility-owned projects procured in the 23-24 RFPs, just not built yet. This is the first one to be constructed.
How many acres is the Lawrence facility?
This one is about 210 acres within the fence. So that translates to just over 5 acres per megawatt AC. This is a fixed tilt system, so it won't track with the sun. Our facilities be a mixture of a single axis tracker and fixed tilt. Those single axis tracker facilities require larger spacing in between the rows. So you'll probably see closer to 7 or 8 acres per megawatt for a single axis tracker facility.
What's the largest solar farm that y'all have in your system?
The largest procured but not built yet will be a 275 megawatt facility in North Carolina. The Robinson facility will be 76 megawatts. Say they range from 30 megawatts on the low end. We see that typically in the DEC service territory. Smaller land parcels, more topography to deal with, so it's just harder to site larger facilities. And then we can see facilities upwards of 100 megawatts in the DEP service territory. I'd say average would be between like 60 and 80.
Okay. The 275 megawatt, that's in North Carolina?
Correct.
How many acres is that project?
It's in Richmond County, North Carolina. It'll be north of 2,000 acres in total. Not all that will be occupied due to topography and other constraints, but roughly site controlled.
Is that one Duke owned?
That one would be Duke owned, correct.
All right. I mean, with the incentives going away from the government, from the federal government, are you seeing less interest from the PPAs? In your, when y'all go out to bid for a facility, or just RFPs?
Correct. To date, no, we've seen a very strong interest in participation from the third-party markets. Typically, multiple times what the procured volume is. When we're going out for a 1.7 gigawatt procurement, we're seeing 5+ gigawatts being bid in as recent as the 2025 RFP. Our 2026 RFP, the first procurement where solar tax credits are no longer available. So we'll see that data point when it comes in. But robust number of projects that have been procured and awarded signed contracts that are already qualifying for those tax credits. Those projects largely have until the end of 2030 to come online. So we'll see a good ramp up of additional solar resources in the next several years.
So maybe that's the reason you're seeing, everybody's trying to get in before 2030.
Correct.
Okay.
So our 3.1 gigawatts procured, those are all going to be qualified for tax credits.
Okay.
And then we should, the 2025 RFP will be our last RFP procurement to be able to grab and procure those projects that can qualify. That procurement was seeking 1.7. We'll see if we'll be able to procure that full amount or a portion of it.
Are you anticipating the number to drop after that, after 2030 hits?
Correct. And you see that in the modeling. The IRP selects less solar, largely due to the loss of the tax credit impacting the overall economics. So the NTAP recommends the 2026 RFP lower the procurement volume. So we went from 1.7 2025 down to 770 megawatts in the 2026 RFP. So pulling down the pace a little bit, but still consistent in procurements.
Thank you, Mr. LaRoche. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Britt, Commissioner Castor.
Thank you. Mr. LaRoche, good morning. Well, good afternoon. The, I guess, table you have on page 33, is that, and you probably said it and I missed it, is that overall South Carolina and North Carolina?
Correct. It's a mixture of the both. I did not divide the numbers by state. Apologies.
And if I did the math right, like through 2030, that's about 56% utility owned, 44% PPA.
Correct. It would be 1.6 gigawatts utility owned, and then 1.5 gigawatts on the PPA side. These are procured numbers, active contracts. We did procure a little bit more than this, but there's been a little bit of attrition, cancellations on the PPA side.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Any further commissioner questions? All right, thank you very much. Last but not least.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Donishad. I'm the General Manager of Generation Execution and Technology Group. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing on the new gas generation in the 2025 IRP update. Just to let you know about my team, we kind of sit in between the IRP team and the project management and construction PMC team. So we're kind of in that space there, kind of figuring out, where things get built, when they get built, and how do we make it happen. So I'll continue here. Great. So natural gas units, as we know, they're dispatchable, right? We can ramp these up. They're highly reliable. They're able to meet the system needs. Kind of sit, natural gas sits right on top of the nuclear. Nuclear's base load. Your combined cycles are typically base load. You're probably 70-80% capacity factor on those, and then you've got the CTs that act as peakers, right? When it's really cold out, really hot out, that's when the CTs are running and needed. They both count towards that reserve margin, and being that dispatchable generation. In the Carolinas, we've got 72 units. If I count all of the combustion turbines that are within the combined cycle, so a 3-on-1, I'll count that as 3 CTs. But 72 units, totaling over 12.5 gigawatts in the Carolinas. So quite a big fleet. We've been operating combustion turbines for decades, for many decades, since the late 60s. So we've got a lot of experience in operating these. And as the technology has progressed, the turbines have increased in both size and efficiency. So, the older F-class CTs, and they use these letters as things have advanced. So the older F-class is around 250 megawatts. These new advanced class that we've been talking about that are in the IRP, those are 425 megawatts each. And then when you take the CTs, take 2 CTs and put in the combined cycle configuration, 425 for each CT and a 520 megawatt turbine. That's the 1365 that you see in the IRP. So just a little background on that. We got a picture there. That's W.S. Lee when it was under construction in 2017. That is a 2-on-1F. So some of the a smaller machine, and that was that's 809 megawatts, just to give you a perspective. So we'll be scaling up from there. You're familiar with this graphic, looking at the combined cycle and the CTs, comparing the 2023 to the 2025 plans. The top is on the combined cycle. You see in both plans we had 5 combined cycles, 1 per year for 5 years, starting in the beginning of year 2029, going to 2033. Question.
Chair Powers, if I may ask him, I was writing and not paying attention. That's my fault. The picture you showed there, the 809 megawatt facility, where did you say that was?
That's W.S. Lee.
W.S. Lee.
Yeah. That's in Anderson County here, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's a different site from the W.S. Lee nuclear site in Cherokee County.
I understand.
Right.
Right.
Same name, 2 different counties.
Got it. Thank you.
Good question. All right. Yeah. So we're looking at the combined cycle on top. We've had 5 combined cycles in the 23 plan. We've been executing on that, and then the 25 plan reaffirmed those the need for those combined cycles. We've got CPCNs and CECPCNs either in hand or in flight for CCs 1 through 3. 4 and 5 are in development, working on that. We've got some attractive sites we're looking at. And then on the CT side, in the 23 plan, we had 5 CTs, and all these CTs they're all listed as they're all advanced class, so they're the same ones that are using the combined cycle, that 425 megawatts each.
with the exception of Smith. So in the 25 plan, we found the model wanted more gas, and so we had a couple of options that we were pursuing. So like IRP team comes to my team and says, hey, looks like we're going to need more, more resources. Can you come up with some more? And so we said, yeah. Smith site, and that's AKA Richmond County in North Carolina. They had built 5 CTs, but it was designed for 6. So the 6th one was never built. So there was a slot at the site to add a 6th, and that's what this is. This is adding an F class to the existing F classes at Smith. Smith also has 2 combined cycles that are there as well. So you'll hear about Power Block 4, Power Block 5. That's what those are. But this is a unique opportunity to add a CT right in there to the existing, plant. So we think that that's a good one. That'll we're looking to bring that in by the beginning of 2030. And then we added a 6th CT, and that would be Blues Creek. So before in the 23 plan, it was just 5 CTs, so we're adding a 6th. And it makes sense to put the CTs together. Marshall, Buck, we're doing pairs of CTs at the same time. A lot of construction synergies there, so it makes sense to group 5 and 6 together at a single site. And so that is the current plan. But between the CCs and CTs, you're looking at 9.6 gigawatts of new gas. So it's quite a bit. We've been very busy. And I think we're making excellent progress. I mean, we're well on the path on this journey. Will it end at the end of this? I mean, we'll see, right? As we'll see what happens with load and everything. So stay tuned for what happens down the road past this wave that we're working on. All right, and then just lastly, as y'all know, the gas turbine market is experiencing very, very high demand, as well as all other key equipment and power generation. We've seen lead times, like Renette talked about, lead times for key equipment grow to 3 to 4 and even more years in certain cases. Our supply chain and the PMC teams have worked diligently with key vendors and suppliers and made early arrangements that allow for the companies to meet their targeted in-service dates. For example, on that slide there, we talk about the GE Vernovo arrangement. That allowed us to lock in slots for another 12 advanced class turbines in addition to the 8 that we had already purchased. These advanced class turbines are being made in Greenville, right? So close by, and we can continue to leverage that arrangement if additional turbines are needed. So that's a really a key thing for us and kind of sets us apart from some of our peers. So that's really what I had prepared. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, any commissioner questions? Mr. Brett.
This is a learning experience.
We want you to learn.
What is the difference between a CC turbine and a CT turbine?
Right, great. I've got can I bring that picture back up? Here, there, thank you. So that's the W.S. Lee site there. And see those little, I don't know if do I have a pointer on this? All right, maybe not. But at the very front there, you see like those, look like a car inlet. It's an inlet air filter. It's where the air goes in, and then it goes to the CT that's kind of down on the ground. We have our combustion. We spin our generator there. So there's our CT. But then the difference now is we're adding a heat recovery steam generator, those vertical pipes you see going up, and we're capturing that waste heat, and we've got water going through tubes. We're creating steam, and that steam goes through another steam turbine.
So that's the CC behind all that.
That's exactly right.
The dark kind of black.
Yes.
Horizontal.
Yeah.
I mean vertical.
So the only difference in the CT and CC is that we add heat recovery steam generators for each CT, and we have a common steam turbine between the two paths, if you will. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, I tried to Google it. I better ask you. You're the expert.
But I mean, basically, it's the same equipment. We're just adding heat recovery steam generator and a steam turbine. It's a big steam turbine. It's 500 megawatts to be able to, so So in a combustion turbine, the exhaust going out is pretty hot. This is capturing that waste heat and making it into steam.
So the CC is a more modern,
yes,
newer application.
I would say so.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Sure.
In having the steam turbine, you're generating 50% more electricity than you would with just the CT. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, if it's the two CTs, it's 850, and we're going to 1365.
Does the extra out front construction cost, is it worth the extra 50%?
It is. The cost per kW of a CC will be better than CTs.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Follow up on that just a little bit, Mr. Donashot. It's also fair to say that a CC is not generally a lot more megawatts, and the CTs you historically have used on occasion or still do for peaking purposes, and again, a lot lower megawatts on the CTs.
Correct.
Is another distinction, I guess, between the two. The follow up on the picture you had of the WS Lee site, that was originally a coal site that is now completely natural gas. It's got Anderson County, I think, near the Saluda River, if I'm not mistaken, from what I recall. You got 2017 under. Didn't that combined cycle plant, didn't it go in service that year too?
I don't have the exact year. I was thinking it was 2019. I could be wrong about that.
And that facility, you stated a little bit larger, a little bit more megawatts than I thought. I was thinking it was 750, and you're saying 809 now.
That's correct.
Has that been? I think what I recall it being the largest of its kind in South Carolina at the time, but it ended up being 809 is what you're telling me.
Yeah, and we might be talking summer, winter. I'm probably talking winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, your comments about the turbines. I know I've seen where that's become a problem. Procuring those turbines has gotten out many more. You said even, I think just now, even more than 3 or 4 years in some cases. But I guess, as you also said, being in the upstate, being near Greenville, being near GE Vernova, maybe you have a little bit of an advantage, I guess, over other utilities who might not be here locally, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd say striking that arrangement back about a year ago was very key for us to be able to execute our plan.
Well, it's good you have not only the close proximity, but your orders out there, so to speak, or your needs known, and having that relationship with them, because that does seem to be a big inhibitor of moving these projects forward.
Yeah, I mean, turbines, transformers, high voltage breakers, they're all kind of critical path. So we're working through all of those different supply chains.
Well, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitfield. Commissioner Caston.
Not trying to beat this dead horse, but as far as the combined cycle and the, I guess, combustion turbine, is it fair to say, or more, is it accurate to say that one, the combined cycle serve more as a base load generation, and the other is shorter term, maybe not as efficient, but it's not needed as often? Or
That's exactly right. So the combined cycles are highly efficient. You would want to use those for base load generation. You could go to daily cycling on those. You'd rather not, but you can. Peakers really are, they're less efficient, right? But they're that generation you need when it's real hot or real cold out. In those extended polar vortexes, you might run them 24/7, not maybe that 7, maybe 24/3 or 4, for 3 or 4 days, feeding oil and keeping those going as needed. So, but their duties are different, even though those combustion turbines in each of them are exactly the same.
And you answered the other question I was going to ask about a CC being used as similar to a CT, but not preferable and not. Got it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Any further commissioner questions?
One last
Commissioner
quick
Brett.
question for Mr. Donahue. You said there were 72 units in the Duke Carolinas. How many of those are in South Carolina?
Oh, I don't have that number with me. I can get it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Anything
Can I ask a
further?
question, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Henley.
Just a few follow-ups from the other commissioners. So on the combined cycles, are you seeing, do you have the same issues with HRSGs, or do you have a deal with GEV on those as well, the heat recovery steam generator?
Yeah, I know. I think the EPCs typically procure the HRSGs, I believe. So we've got a partnership with Zachary that I mentioned on the slide. They're going to be doing all of our advanced class projects in the Carolinas. So they are working on that.
This question is going to be on the EPC bottlenecks, but you have that sorted out as well.
Yes, yes, sir.
Got you. And then just on the summer versus winter point you made just now, do you not use thermal inlet air cooling?
I'm so sorry. Can I ask the question again?
Do you use thermal inlet cooling?
Are you talking about like in the inlet chilling for the? I don't know if I am not sure if we have that or not. We might have that in certain stations and not in others. I'll have to follow on that one.
Okay. And just on are the bottlenecks you're seeing or not seeing, I guess, is the turbine and HRSG sort of supply chain, is that affecting development timelines in your plan, or is it fitting in still?
Well, I mean, the timelines are dynamic, and so as we're working through these, as supply chain changes, our project schedule changes. I mean, if you're looking at a brand new project now, you've got a site, and you want to start the process, green light to in service, you're like 5 to 7 years. If you don't have a site, you're going to add another year to that schedule. So, I think we're just always working in partnership with our groups in our company, just making sure that we've got the right overall schedule. But the critical path can change from one project to another.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. Is the critical path falling on the supply chain, or is it still in your control?
Yeah, I mean, it could be transmission. It could be lots of different things.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Henley. Any further commissioner questions or comments? Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment. I want to thank the company for coming over and providing the briefing. Very comprehensive and transparent. So it's hard to leave here with any unanswered questions, I think. So thank you so much.
We all concur with that remark. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Anything further from the company?
No, sir, just that we appreciate your time and the good discussion this morning. Thank you.
Well, you got a good chunk of it. So thank you all very much. Have a good rest of the week. We are adjourned.